Who was the military genius who masterminded Germany's strategy in World War I, only to later plunge the nation into chaos and conspiracy? Meet Erich Ludendorff, a figure whose story is a whirlwind of triumph and tragedy. Let's dive into his complex legacy. Erich Ludendorff first exploded onto the world stage in the opening weeks of the Great War. While commanders on the Western Front were digging into trenches, Ludendorff was in the East, engineering a breathtaking victory. Alongside Paul von Hindenburg, he orchestrated the Battle of Tannenberg in August 1914. It was a masterclass in strategy. Using railways to rapidly move their troops, they encircled and annihilated the Russian Second Army. This single battle not only saved East Prussia from invasion, but also turned Ludendorff and Hindenburg into national heroes overnight. Their names were on everyone's lips, and they became the symbols of German military might. This newfound fame propelled Ludendorff to the very heart of German power. By 1916, the duo was so influential that they effectively established a military dictatorship. As quartermaster general, Ludendorff was no longer just a general. He was the de facto co-ruler of Germany. He became the chief architect of total war, a radical concept for its time. He believed that to win the entire nation, its economy, its industries, and its people had to be mobilized solely for the war effort. Civilian life was completely subordinated to military needs. Factories were retooled for munitions, food was strictly rationed, and labor was controlled with an iron fist. It was a brutal, all-encompassing strategy aimed at achieving victory at any cost. But Ludendorff's ambition often tipped into recklessness. One of his most fateful decisions was to champion unrestricted submarine warfare. Frustrated by the grinding stalemate and the British naval blockade, he argued that unleashing Germany's U-boats to sink any ship heading to Britain, including those from neutral countries, would starve the Allies into submission before America could intervene. It was a colossal gamble. The policy was reinstated in early 1917, and as predicted, it enraged the United States. President Woodrow Wilson, who had campaigned on keeping America out of the war, was left with no choice. In April 1917, the U.S. declared war on Germany, bringing its immense industrial power and fresh manpower into the conflict. Ludendorff's high-stakes bet had backfired, sealing Germany's long-term fate. By the spring of 1918, Ludendorff knew the clock was ticking. With American troops beginning to arrive in Europe, he planned one last, desperate roll of the dice: the Spring Offensive, or Kaiserschlacht. He pulled troops from the now-defeated Eastern Front and hurled them at the Allied lines in France, using innovative stormtrooper tactics. The initial assault was stunningly successful, breaking through a front that had been static for years. But the German army was exhausted and overstretched. They couldn't sustain the advance, and the offensive eventually ground to a halt. The failure was catastrophic. It shattered the morale of the German army and left it vulnerable to the decisive Allied counterattack that would end the war just months later. Defeated and disgraced, Ludendorff's post-war life was a shocking spiral into extremism. Instead of accepting responsibility, he became one of the chief promoters of the stab in the back. Meet the toxic lie that Germany lost the war not because of military failure, but because it was betrayed by politicians, socialists, and Jews at home. This conspiracy theory poisoned German politics. He found a kindred spirit in a young Adolf Hitler and, in 1923, marched alongside him in the infamous beer hall putsch in Munich. Although he was later acquitted, his journey from celebrated war hero to radical agitator was complete. From brilliant tactician to reckless gambler, and finally, to political extremist, Erich Ludendorff's life is a powerful lesson in how ambition, when unchecked by wisdom, can lead to ruin. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into history.